Hello, boys and girls. Okay, here we go. We're going to start our experiment now. First thing you're going to need is your little booklet. So let's start with the first part of the scientific method. All right, little scientists. So we know that the first part of the scientific method is our question. So what are we going to try to figure out in our experiment? We want to know, will it sink or float? There's a really big science word that we use for that, and it's called buoyancy. When something floats, it's very buoyant. It's a big word. Say it with me. Buoyant. So we're going to see if it'll sink or if it will float. We're going to do our experiment. Okay, first, I want you to think. First, we're going to think, if I put this dice in my container of water that I showed you guys, what do you think is going to happen if I put the dice in there? You're going to draw that for me. So that's going to be our hypothesis. Remember, our hypothesis is what we think is going to happen. Our question is, will it sink or will it float? So if I put this dice in there, do you think it's going to sink or it's going to float? And I'm going to do just a quick sketch to give you an example. So my hypothesis, here's my tub of water, circle, line, line. I know I'm doing it sideways and that's okay. Here's my water. So where do you think the dice is going to go? Is it going to sink? Is it going to float? Where do you think it's going to go? Where do you think your dice is going to go? Okay, now we're going to do another part of the experiment. So I'm going to make another hypothesis. Here's my tub of water. It's going to be the same tub of water. If I put the dice in my little plastic container and then I put my container in the water, what do you think is going to happen? Will it sink or will it float? What do you think? Go ahead and draw it. So if I put the little dice in the container of water, do you think it's going to sink all the way to the bottom? Is it going to stay in the middle? Or do you think it's going to float above the water? What do you think? So that's your hypothesis. It's what you think is going to happen. What do you think is going to happen? Now, the next step is our experiment. So first we thought about what might happen, and now we're actually going to figure out what will happen. So we're going to try it out. So first we're going to start this box. We're going to use to record just the dice by itself. So we're going to draw a little dice. And this box we're going to use to record what happens when we put the dice in the cup. So what happens when we put the dice in the cup? In the little cup. Okay, so this one is what's going to happen when we put just the dice in the water. And this one's going to tell us what's going to happen when we put the dice in the water with the cup. Okay? Now we're going to try it out more than one time because scientists always try their experiments several times to see if they get the same answer. Okay, let's get started. If you have your supplies at home, you're going to try it at home with me. If you don't have these supplies, then you're just going to watch. Let me see if I can give you a side view. Okay, let's see. Let's see what happens. I might have to bring this up a little bit higher. Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to bring that a little bit higher so we can see it better. All right, let me sit it on this. All right, let's see what happens to my dice. Is it gonna sink or is it gonna float? So if I just put the dice in there by itself, let's see what happens. What happened? It went right to the bottom. Okay, now I need to record what happened. Okay. So on my paper, remember scientists record what they find. So on my paper where it says the dice all by itself, oh boy, I'm having a hard time here. Where it says the die all by itself, the first time that we dropped it, did it sink or did it float? Did it sink or did it float? We're going to write an S since it sank. If yours floated, then you're going to write an F right here. But I'm going to write an S because mine sank to the bottom. Okay, so the first time it sank. Let's check a second time. Let's see if it same thing happens the second time. So let me bring my things back. Okay, I'm going to take out my dice. Make sure you have a little napkin or towel next to you so you don't make a big mess with the water. Okay, we're going to try it again. I'm going to drop it and see what happens. Okay, it went all the way to the bottom for me. What happened to yours? Okay, now I need to record that again in my book. So in my book, I already got mine a little bit wet, so make sure you dry your hands before you use your paper because it'll tear easily. Did it sink or did it float? My second time, mine sank again. It sank. Now if you want to do it 2 more times, then you can do it 2 more times. I'm going to move on to my next one. Did it sink or did it float? It sank, and it sank both times when it was just the dice by itself. All right, now we're going to try the other way. We said we were going to try what's going to happen if we put the dice in the water with the cup. What did you guys think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Maybe it's going to sink because it's heavy if we put the cup and the dice, it's going to be even heavier, so maybe it'll sink to the bottom. What do you think? Let's find out. Okay, so I'm going to put my dice inside my little plastic container, and then we're going to put this one in the water, and let's see what happens. What's going on? It's floating. What? Why is it floating? Okay, I'm going to take it out and I'm going to try it one more time. I'm going to try it one more time. All right, let's put it back in there. Oh my goodness, what if I try to press it down? Is it going to come back up? Yep. It comes back up. I wonder. Okay, now we gotta record it. Did yours do the same thing as mine? Let's record it just like scientists do. All right, I'm going to move mine out of the way for just a second. Give me 1 second, little scientists. Okay, so my second round with the dice in the cup, it floated for me. So I'm going to put an F. The first time I did it, it floated. The second time I did it, it also was floating. So now I know that when the dice was all by itself, it sank both times. And when the dice was in the cup, it floated both times. That's so strange. So now our next part is going to be our observe. So on the last page, you're going to draw exactly what happened. So for me, I'm going to draw my big container of water. This is what my container of water looked like. Okay, when I dropped the dice by itself, it sank all the way to the bottom. But then when I did it the other way, this is my big container of water. When I put the dice in the little cup, it floated. It was floating on the water. So the dice went down, down, down. And in the cup, it went up, up, up. How strange. Why do you think that happened? Was your hypothesis correct? Is this what you had said would happen? Remember when we made our hypothesis? You told me what you think was going to happen. Did it happen like you thought it would? Sometimes it will and sometimes it won't. Scientists find out that sometimes what they thought was going to happen doesn't really happen, and they discover something new. For example, I thought it might sink because it would be heavier, but it didn't. It actually floated. Why do you think that happened? So now your last step of the experiment is going to be to discuss. Analyze and discuss. I want you to think about, think, scientists. Why do you think it happened that way? And then you're going to make a short video telling me why you think that happened. For example, if I were making my video, I would say, in my experiment, the dice, when it was all by itself, it went to the bottom. It sank to the bottom. But when I put the dice in the cup, it floated to the top. So when something comes down, 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 it sinks. And when something comes up, 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 it floats, right? So if I were making my video again, I would say, when I did my experiment, I found that the dice by itself sinks all the way to the bottom, but when it's in the cup, it floats all the way to the top. And I think this happened because, and then you're going to say why. Okay? So tell me one more time why. So one, you're going to tell me what happened, and then you're going to tell me why you think it happened. Okay? Tell me what happened in your experiment, and why do you think it happened like that? Why do you think it floated? And did the same thing happen to you as in mine? Maybe you got a different result. We'll find out. So remember, afterward, you are going to record that video telling me why you think it happened. And if you have some extra time, you can play with some other things. You can play sink or float with other things, right? Only things that can go in water, though. Like what if I put this rubber band in there? What do you think will happen if we put a rubber band? Is it going to sink or is it going to float? It sank. Why do you think it sank? So after you're all done with your first experiment, you can go ahead and you can play with it and figure out what other things sink and what other things float. Good job, little scientists. Can't wait to hear what you found in your experiment. I'll see you later.